I'm Vanessa Bellew, and I am an actor and a writer. I developed PTSD when I was 8, and then over the course of my childhood and teen years, it became what is called chronic and complex PTSD. When memory forms, when normal memory forms, it forms in the frontal lobe. And your brain knows that this is a memory, it's not happening right now. So when a traumatic memory is stored in your brain, it's stored in the mammalian part of the brain, the center of the brain, which is where your emotions are. And then because the mammalian brain is connected to the reptilian brain, which is the stem, it starts changing how you react to things physically. So your heart races and you shake and you can't breathe. All of these things that at one point were probably really great for survival, but that when you're, sitting on a train trying to get from one place to another, just make you miserable. I had been told well into my 20s that I was dealing with depression, that I had had traumatic events happen to me, but that it was major depressive disorder and that it was, anxiety. But it wasn't covering a lot of symptoms. I knew other people who were depressed, and even though depression is different for everyone, other depressed people that I knew weren't curled up in balls sobbing for hours because they saw someone sniff snuff or whatever it was. They weren't having those kinds of nightmares. So there were a lot of symptoms that didn't make sense, and I just assumed for a very long time, because no one was telling me that PTSD was even an option, that there was something fundamentally wrong with me, that I was being overdramatic or that I just couldn't cope. And then a couple of years ago, I guess almost 2 years now, I finally got a trauma therapist. And I remember it was December 17th, and I had been seeing this therapist for a couple weeks, and she told me that what I had was not depression, but in fact PTSD. And I thought up until that point that was only something that people got when they went to war. But I went home that night and I Googled it and I looked at the symptoms, and suddenly I made sense. Everything made sense. The intrusive thoughts, the flashbacks, the nightmares, the triggers, it all suddenly made so much sense. And I felt like that I had finally named this beast. And I suddenly felt like this was not who I was, but what I was dealing with. It's going to seem like no one else is dealing with what you're dealing with. But that's not true. There are people who you will find as you grow up who understand exactly how you feel, why you act the way you do. And when it seems like bad things only ever happen to you, those people are going to be by your side, and you're going to be by theirs. And together, you're going to help each other be okay. You are okay.